My mother-in-law and my mother went to elementary, middle, and high school together. They knew each other, but they were not friends. So they rarely spoke to each other, but what I heard was that they were very close friends. My husband, Logan, proposed to me a year ago, but shortly after that, my fathers went bankrupt. My mother-in-law hated my mother, but she still reluctantly agreed to the marriage because my father was the heir to the company. So, as soon as she found out that my company went bankrupt, she came to my workplace and called while I was at work to says,
Marriage with a family with no money sham. Break up with my son quickly.
as usual, she treated my family as poor. You don't know anything. You'll regret this. Let me tell you a story about whose life suddenly turned into a nightmare. I am Naomi, 28 years old. I work as a pharmacist at a dispensary in my parents' house. I spent 6 years in pharmacy school. I came back to my hometown to become a licensed pharmacist. My husband was one of my classmates' school. After graduating from high school, of us two, we went our separate ways. When I returned home from my summer vacation, he had just returned from college and we met again. And we started dating. I had heard that my mother-in-law went to school with my mother, but I never had the chance to meet. So I didn't think anything of it, but it wasn't the same. Few years after we started dating, I promised to spend the holidays with my hometown. All of our good friends from High S going to join us there. We decided to have a party for the in a long time. They were all curious and wanted to about me Logan's relationship too. Logan offered to let us have a party parents' house. His parents' house was originally a landowner's house in this area, and it is what you might call a mansion. He used to say,
It's just a big house. It's too cold. Don't like it.
but in reality, it was indeed a Magi house. I was surprised at how spacious the was. The entrance alone is bigger than my.
Come on, everybody. Get up here.
When he saw that we had all been so overwhelmed by the size of the room and welcomed us in. And to get to his room, we went down the hallway past several guest rooms, and then we went up the stairs to the second floor. He told me that he was allowed to use the whole second floor. His room was at the far end of there was a sofa and a big TV. On the other side, there was a bed desk. It was much larger than what you would expect when you hear the word room. There was no comparison. Logan even ordered catering for us. All had a nice chat and enjoyed After a while, I asked if I could use the bathroom. He followed me because it was downstairs.
Your house is gorgeous and huge. I lost.
Yeah, it's huge but cold and uncomfortable to live in.
Wow, they look expensive too.
I peeked into what looked like a shelf by the hallway. Then, all of a sudden,
Don't touch them. Poor people shouldn't.
I was surprised to hear her loud voice.
If a poor person touches it and breaks it, you can't pay for it, can you?
Well, I'm not sure if it's a mistake or not, but I can see that you have used for instead of form. It should be form instead.
Mom, she was just looking at it. What's wrong with you?
There's nothing wrong with me. I'm this for that poor girl.
She's tall, slender, and beautiful, had a wrinkle between her eyebrows.
What do you mean, poor? Naomi is.
So, she is Watson's daughter after all.
My mother-in-law said, "Oh my God," with a horrified look on her face.
She looks poor. If she steals anything from our house, we won't approve of it.
What are you talking about? Naomi, what? Do such a thing.
Huh?
With that, I'll leave you with a quote from one of my favorite authors, J.K. Rowling. It is our choices, Harry, that show what we truly are, far more than our abilities. After the party, I went back to my parents' house and asked my mother about my mother-in-law. She told me a story that I had never heard before. My grandfather, my mother's father, failed in business before she was... Oh, he had come here from New York to visit his family after his business failed. Grandpa worked as a delivery man for store. He managed to support the family by there for years. So, as a child, when my mother couldn't even ask her parents to buy new pair. But Grandpa worked hard and was able his own liquor store. That was Watson's Liquor, which my now taken over. My mother-in-law was the one who brought me up in poverty.
It smells bad in here, doesn't it? The smell of poverty. Stay away from me. I'll get sick.
She used to say things like that too. My mother-in-law was the daughter of a family. She was always surrounded by a lot of people, but they were just bribed by her morality. My mother-in-law and her cronies always pick on my mother, ignore her and her. She always gave him toys and sweets. One day, however, my mother-in-law picked on my mother, as she always did.
When did you get that sweater?
The boy found my mother-in-law's tea set.
Hey, stop it. Don't you dare do such a thing. You're always picking on her and isolating her from the other guys. You're such a jerk. Everyone says
No, I don't.
Let's get out of here. Come on, Full.
Are you okay?
After that, she stopped being mean mother. My mother-in-law went to school with my mom all through elementary, middle, and high school. She never spoke to my mother. I see. After a while, Logan and I continued our relationship, and he proposed to me on my birthday last year. Every time I saw my mother-in-law, she would call me a poor girl or a thief. I tried not to pay much attention to. After graduating from a university, returned to his hometown and joined company. However, he had studied business at university and had always wanted his own business. While working for a company, he has been steadily building a network of contacts for his future. Of course, I could think of no one marry but him. However, right after we registered our marriage, my father's company, Watson's Liquor, went bankrupt. My mother-in-law hated my mother. She came to my workplace and called while I was at work to say,
Marriage with a family with no money sham. Break up with my son quickly.
"You don't know anything. You'll regret it," I thought to myself. The truth is that, but it was because my father wanted a new business that could make the community more prosperous. The company was originally a grocer that mainly sold alcoholic beverage, but he wanted to create a company that focused more on local products and then export them to other countries. So even though the company went bank, did not mean that things were not. It would have been difficult for the two families to get together because my mother-in-law would have interfered at every turn. So we decided to skip the wedding and registered our marriage for the being. My family likes Logan, and we often have dinner together. On my mother's birthday, I booked a best-known Italian restaurant in the area. This was actually a plan that Logan came up with together. My mother and her mother, who never met. The plan was to coincidentally meet. Yes, Logan was going to bring his Meg to this restaurant. My mother and I were seated by the window, which was the largest table in the restaurant. My father used to frequent this restaurant, so did my mother and I, and the staff knows us well. Logan and my mother-in-law were seated at the very back, by the kitchen. They arrived just as we were finished. Appetizers.
Naomi. Oh, hi, Mother. It's been,
Oh, hi, Logan. Are you having dinner with your mother too?
That's right.
My mother-in-law remained silent, but sat down.
I've just remembered I have something to do, so let's just eat and get out of here. Please order the dishes that can be the soonest.
As it was, I had trouble connecting with her.
Naomi, this is some kind of plan. What should I do?
My mother asked me in a whisper.
My mother-in-law hates us and still likes poor people. So I thought it would be a good opportunity for us to talk and get to know each other better.
I told my mom the reason in a whisper. She said, "I'm not sure what you mean,"
Okay, let me handle it.
and walked over to Logan and my mother-in-law's table.
We certainly hadn't been close since kids, but our children trust each other very. They made a great couple. I don't think it's right for us to get in their way by dwelling on what happened a long time ago. Why don't we try to be friends again?
Dwell on the past. What do you tell about? I'm selective about whom I talk to or befriend. My friends are all decent people. The wife of the president of Johns Hopkins Hospital is one of them, as well as the wife of a prominent Baltimore attorney. I don't want poor people like you.
It was a long time ago that I could live a normal life.
I'm saying I don't feel the need to people who are normal.
My mother did her best. It didn't change my mother-in-law's attitude. As for the wife of the director of Hopkins Hospital, my mother-in-law was born in Baltimore. Dr. Hopkins had invested in my father's company. My father and Dr. Hopkins were classed the top school around here. They are best friends and still go drinks together. My father's other best friend, Mr., also a friend at the same school. He is the president of a big electrical franchise store. The three of them often go golfing. Moreover, Logan's father works for company. My mother-in-law does not know this. One day, my mother-in-law and her friend lunched at a hotel. My mother joined them for the first. Dr. Hopkins' wife introduced my moth everyone.
This is Mrs. Watson, the wife of my best friend. I hope you all get along well with.
My mother told my father that my mother-in-law didn't think well of our marriage and was disturbing. He contacted his best friend, Dr. H.C., and asked his wife to cooperate with him in this project. My mother-in-law, as expected, could not raise any objections right then and there. She was so proud of her friend, the president of the great Joe Hopkins Hospital. Of all people, it was her archenemy who introduced her to a class she had always hated for a long time. My mother-in-law kept quiet that day. There was no way she was just going to keep her mouth shut. She called each of the wives individually, gave them expensive gifts. She told them about my mother's past, them hate her, and exclude her from circle of friends. And she gave the same expensive gift to Mrs. Hopkins as, well, saying, "Here's a little something for you."
I don't think it's good to get involved with such a poor person.
I had no idea you were this vile. I heard that you gave everyone gifts and spoke ill of Mrs. Watson, that you're asking them to exclude the group.
No, I was just trying to make sure you weren't fooled. Was just trying to let you know that I'm not going to be able to make it tonight.
We can no longer treat you as our friend. I will not be calling on you again. I'm sorry, but I have to say goodbye.
My mother-in-law lost a friend who was like a sister to her. One day, Mr. Moore invited Logan's play golf with him. He also invited his best friends, my and Dr. Hopkins, and the four of them went golfing together, and they all had a great time like school students.
Well, this was really fun. I'd love would invite me again.
Of course we will, right, Doc?
Sure, and I had a great time too. I'm thinking of going overseas for my next trip. Want to come?
Yes, I'd love to join you.
Logan's father went home that day in a good mood. He is usually a quiet person, but he couldn't help telling his wife how much he loved her.
They were such nice, cool people. So much fun.
So what? I don't have time to listen to your happy stories.
All she could think about was how she was going to lose her friend and the hug she had spent on gifts.
You're always in a bad mood, and you disgusting woman. You make me feel I'm with you. I've reached the end of my rope and getting a divorce.
Divorce? What nonsense. You're not divorced yet. Don't be silly. You're alone, you have one. What would you do without me?
I've got friends. They don't give a fuck about you. Stop disrespecting me. I've had enough.
You serious? No way.
And my mother-in-law got divorced out of the house. Her rich friends, of whom she was cut her off. All that was left were the debts she owed gifts. His mother had secretly borrowed the money from her own. Logan and I continued to enjoy our life as husband and wife. We bought a house together. He told me that he wanted a house that was moderately spacious and warm. Now, my parents and Logan's father are visiting us in our new house. This house will surely be a place where family will make many memories together.